Hi, my name's Will Phillips, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 5 dysfunctions of an executive team by Patrick Lencioni. Patrick has been an executive coach and inside many executive teams for many years, and what he has noticed is lots of them don't work at a very high level. So he saw that there were 5 different things that seemed to misfire or not be in place, which led an executive team to be ineffective. So that's what we're going to talk about on this video. He looks at these 5 dysfunctions as a pyramid, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, at the very top of the pyramid, the top of the mountain, the place you get to last, is results. And what he's talking about is executive performance here, the results that the company or business needs to produce in order to succeed. He says, if you try to just drive up here, you will not get there at the highest level. And that you have to start down here and build a foundation. And the foundation of the executive team, in fact, is built on trust. But I'm going to back up for a second, because the first thing before you start thinking about these 5 dysfunctions is to decide whether the team you're thinking of or the team you're on is really a team. If it's not really a team, don't pay any attention to this. So here's what a team looks like. Generally, it's less than a dozen people. It seems like 5 to 7 are the fastest moving teams that have enough variety to get full input. When you get up to 10, 11, 12 people on an executive team, it's a little slower. People have less airtime. It takes a higher level of play for that team to be as fast-footed as a smaller team. But the key thing that makes a team as opposed to a group is that a team has a common goal, and everybody on the team must contribute for the goal to be achieved. If people can achieve if people can achieve goals like their individual goals, regardless of what the rest of the team does, it's a group of independent lone rangers who band together now and then for social reasons, but certainly not to help one another because there's no common goal. So a common goal means that everybody is committed to a common goal, like the growth of a business, for instance, or implementing a new strategy, or changing the organization's culture. We're all committed to that. So now we get to the most important part about being on a team. This is the ultimate team test. Are the individuals on that team willing to sacrifice some of their personal needs and objectives so the team succeeds? If they're not willing to make the sacrifice, then they are not a team member. They're an individual. This is the test. And if you look at the great literature that coaches have written about professional sports, my favorite is Sacred Hoops by Phil Jackson, where he talks about coaching basketball, and the whole book is about this issue. How do I take these exceptional athletes, many, if not all, with strong egos, and get them to sacrifice so the team can win? We're not interested in your statistics. We're interested in the team's winning. And in order for that to happen, you have to subjugate, put lower, achieving your own statistics versus having the team win. So that's the test. Now, if you pass that test, and you almost intuitively know it about the teams that you're on, now we can go and take a look at the 5 dysfunctions. The first one has to do with trust. And trusting on one another means that people are willing to be vulnerable as opposed to protected, shields up, ready to defend. Only when you become vulnerable can you begin to have a conversation. And that's a critical piece of the executive team's success. So it means being willing to share your weaknesses, your mistakes, your fears, and to talk about that with some comfort. That's what trust is about. If there is sufficient trust as a foundation, or put it differently, whatever level of trust is there, if it's not too much, then going to the next level makes it hard. Because the reason we need the trust really is not to be intimate. It's to engage in conflict. Now, we're not talking about knockdown, drag-out conflict. We're talking about productive conflict. The kind that Jim Collins talked about in his book, Good to Great, where the executive teams could disagree without being disagreeable. The kind where you can take all different points of views on an issue, on an upcoming decision, challenge it, test it, stand up for your point of view, and eventually, having heard all sides, digested that, the person in charge says, this is the way it's going to be, and everybody says fine, because they've had a good hearing. And they move forward without residue, nothing left over, nothing that needs to be discussed in the restroom or the parking lot, no unresolved affronts or anger or injustices. Clean, clean. The more trust, the more you can engage in productive conflict efficiently and effectively without the usual kinds of unproductive conflict which tend to populate most executive teams more than it should. And you can tell this by the amount of conversation that goes on in the restroom or the parking lot, the things left unsaid. Once you've gotten to a point where you can have real grappling with conflict, it means that you can get commitment. And the way that commitment occurs is feeling that this is my solution, this is my decision, that I have been heard, that I've had my day in court, that I've had a chance to convince you. And in this book, Patrick reveals one of the great truths of leadership. You do not need 100% consensus to get 100% commitment. It's very interesting. If you work for consensus, it might take you years for everybody to say, yes, that would be my decision. But if you engage in conflict productively, so everybody hears respectfully one another's views, considers it, looks at it from one another's points of view, you will feel heard. And having felt heard, even though the person with authority might not take my viewpoint or decision, they take it into account. And because of that, if they make a decision that is not the exact decision I'd make, I'm committed to it. I'm committed to it. I had my day in court. I had a chance to convince you. Thank you for listening to me. I'll go with you. I have seen this happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times between executives, between labor and management, between husband and wife, between parent and child. If you get heard, you can get commitment. Now, once commitment happens, it means there's something inside of me where I truly support the goal, not just have given it lip service, or not just have said, okay, to move ahead, or not upset someone. But with real commitment, we can make a decision that people will be accountable for. So now we come up here. And accountability is a common word in the business world. And the way we hear it generally is this: well, you didn't hold him accountable, or people aren't held accountable, as if you can hold them and make them accountable. What it generally means is you didn't punish them. This is not the way to get the highest level of performance, because you're punished or held to account if you didn't deliver. The highest form of delivery, which gives deep efficiency in an organization and focus, is when I am personally accountable to myself for the 3 goals or the 2 goals or the 1 decision we made. And every one of you knows much more how you didn't live up to your own expectations for being accountable than someone else does who's trying to watch from afar. So holding yourself accountable is the kind of people we want on the team. We've agreed, now let's go to work. I'll hold myself accountable. No matter what hand I'm delivered, rain, fire, flood, recession, somebody left, somebody got hurt, I'll deliver because I'm accountable to myself. That's the accountability that you should have in any business, and certainly on your executive team. Otherwise, you need a police force. And one of the things we've discovered over the last 50 years is that a police force in business is extremely expensive to go around checking, watching, and then trying to figure out what you do with people who didn't want to be accountable in the beginning. So, having built in this self-accountability, we can deliver results at the highest possible level. That's what this book is about. What is elegant about the work that Patrick Lencioni has done is you can go to his website, which is www.tablegroup.com. Maybe it's the Table Group. And you can sign up and your team can take an assessment. And when you get the assessment back, you'll go to about the 5th page, and there will be your triangle for your company. And each one will be red, yellow, or green. And then when you go through the rest of the report, it will show you where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, where the people taking the assessment had the highest degree of agreement and the highest degree of disagreement. You'll also get coaching on 3, 4, 5 things that you can do to strengthen each one of these, which are fairly straightforward. So, doing this assessment, working through this data with your executive team, and coming up with some modest action plans that you pursue for 2, 3 months, then you do the assessment again. Look for progress. Actually, when you work on this, it begins to have impacts up here. So you can kind of accelerate. More work down here. It's bigger. A little bit more, less to get to the top. It's probably a year's commitment to do this assessment and the follow-up seriously to move your executive team to the professional level. In my work with business executives over the last 6 years, I would say there is no business that should not use this assessment and follow-up to improve your organization. It is of extremely high value. It's very simple to do. I have run 15 workshops using the report output with a team to pull this together and make real progress. And in every case, people love it. It's not accusatory, it's not blaming. It makes sense to people. How do we get better results? Well, we have to build some things to get there. If you're willing to build and invest, you can get to the professional level of an executive team or an executive board. Boards suffer from dysfunctions as much as executive teams. Thanks for listening, and to find out more about me, go to rexroundtables.com online and look at our organization. Bye. Working minutes.